Batman, Arkham City Part 7, The Final Showdown. Gotham City, New Jersey, Monday, January 18th, 2021. It's been a busy night for Bruce Wayne slash Batman. What turned out to be a press conference to protest Arkham City turned into a short prison sentence for Bruce Wayne and many of the reporters who were there. But this was all planned by Bruce Wayne to get into Arkham City and shut it down himself and his alter ego, the Batman. And so far, it's been a very busy night of fighting, trying to stay alive, and just saving people left and right. Now, after saving Mr. Freeze's frozen wife, he was now going after the Joker. As Batman was on a very high vantage point in the steel mill complex, Batman could see with his detective mode that all the Joker's men were armed, and they were just not armed with normal handguns. They were armed with assault rifles and several other military-grade equipment. Batman couldn't go into the steel mill the way he came in earlier through the chimney because that was out of commission, so he had to figure out a way, and he found a way in. And as Batman snuck his way through the steel mill, he could overhear Joker's men talking how the Joker was miraculously healed from the cure, how the sores on his face were gone. Batman thought to himself, great, Joker just took the one thing that could save me. But as Batman made his way to where he confronted Joker and Harley Quinn the first time, the Joker was there waiting for him with a group of men, and Batman noticed that the goon talk was true, that Joker was completely healed. The scars and wounds on his face were completely gone. He was a new man again, and the Joker was taunting him about it.
Well, Batman, glad you could make it. As you can see, I'm a new man again. Thanks to you, this cure's revitalized me, and now I have a second lease on life.
Joker ordered his men to attack Batman, but Batman made short work of them. The Joker was surprised and said to Batman,
Amazing, Batsy. Who knew for a dying man you were still strong enough to win a fight?
Then the Joker pulls out a gun. He was ready to take a shot at Batman when all of a sudden the steel mill began to violently rumble. There was an explosion and debris from the ceiling came crashing down. Joker was safe, but Batman was completely pinned down by steel beams and concrete. And the Joker looked at Batman and taunted him and pointed the gun at him, saying to him,
Wowee, this is my lucky night.
Batman thought in his mind, oh great, this is the end. This is how it ends. This madman finally does me in. Not this poison, but him. All of a sudden, a familiar female voice screams, "Stop!" The Joker turns to look at the direction where the voice came from, and he sees a young black woman come up to him. Batman was able to see her, and to his surprise, it was Talia al Ghul. And then Talia says to Joker, well, Mr. Joker, it seems like you are a true warrior. You are about to defeat the Bat. What if I can tell you I can offer you eternal life, immortality, power beyond your wildest dreams? The Joker has heard of the Society of Shadows and of Ra's al Ghul, and he knew that Talia was Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and he says to her,
Really? Why should I trust you?
And Talia says to the Joker, because you have proven yourself worthy. You have taken down the Batman. And as a sign to show you that I mean the truth, here's the ceremonial sword of the demon's head, and here's my gun. I am your prisoner, and I will guide you to the Lazarus pit. And Batman says, struggling to talk,
Talia, no, don't trust him. That man, he's a demon.
And then Talia says to Batman, don't worry, sometimes you gotta follow your heart. As she was pointing to the lapel of her leather jacket, Batman can see the little blinking of the LED light of his tracking device that he put on the female ninja hours earlier, and Talia and the Joker walk away. And then Batman was struggling to try to get all that debris on him off. Despite the strength augmentation in the bat suit, Batman could not take all that stuff off of him. But then, all of a sudden, it happened. Batman saw a familiar figure coming down the hole in the roof. It was Catwoman coming in to save him, and she goes up to Batman and she says to Batman, "It's a good thing that I saw the image of you being pinned down by the falling ceiling from the giant TV screen inside the personal goods vault that I was robbing before the attack happened." She goes on to help Batman take off all the debris off of him. Batman gets up, dusts himself off, and he asks her what's going on, and Catwoman says there's some sort of attack going on. The Tiger helicopters are in the sky shooting missiles all over the super prison, and there are drones in the street level gunning down all the prisoners, she said. And Batman says to her,
This must be Protocol 10 that Hugo Strange was reminding everybody throughout the night here.
Batman tells Catwoman to get to safety, that he had to do some work before he can get to safety. And then Batman was running to the exit where he could hear the distant rumble of explosions. Finally, Batman opens the steel door and sees the chaos outside as the attack was commencing and helicopters were flying all over the prison complex shooting missiles. Batman gets on his communicator and says to Oracle,
Oracle, Strange is launching missile strikes on Arkham City from Wonder Tower. You shut this place down. Joker's taking Talia. I'm going after them.
And Oracle says to Batman, "You can't. Hundreds will be killed. I need your help to stop the attack." And then Batman says to Oracle,
He'll kill Talia.
Batman pulls out his Palm computer and starts to activate the tracker, and then Alfred chimes in, "You need to think this through. Batman can't let all those people die." Suddenly, the tracking stopped. Batman couldn't activate it. It was Alfred from the Batcave disabling it. Then, desperately, Batman says to Alfred,
My tracker's not activating. Reroute all Wayne Enterprises satellites to boost the signal.
Then Alfred says over the communicator, "I can't do that. I realize it is difficult, sir, but you need to decide if one life is worth sacrificing to save thousands." And Batman says to Alfred,
Don't do this, Alfred.
and Alfred replies, "Batman must save Gotham. I'm sorry, but deep down, you know I'm right." And then Batman says over the communicator,
Oracle, don't lose Talia's signal.
So Batman quickly thought to himself, Wonder Tower is going to be locked down. I have to find the master control program to unlock the tower. So now Batman had to get to the entryway of the super prison, and that was going to be a challenge with the helicopters flying overhead and shooting missiles and machine guns on anyone on the rooftops, and the drones on street level doing the same. So Batman ran, jumping rooftop to rooftop, avoiding the helicopters.
All targets are lit. I repeat, we have multiple successful strikes, all on target. It's successful. Inmate targets neutralized.
As Batman ran, one of the attacking helicopters spotted him and began to open fire.
Multiple targets down. Batman in sight.
Batman was able to lose the attack helicopter. As it was flying over, Batman quickly grappled up to its skid and rode it along until it brought him close enough to the entryway of the super prison.
Target escape. I repeat, Batman has escaped area.
Eventually, Batman glided to the upper level of the entryway where there was a security observation area, and Batman landed. He'd made short work of the Tiger Guards that were there. After taking them all out, Batman quickly pulled out his palm-top computer and used the laser scanning feature to scan all the unconscious guards' handprints, and then he took their security pass cards and tapped it on the palm-top computer. And then he uploaded everything to the back computer, and Alfred says over the communicator, "Sir, real in luck, several of the men that you scanned had high enough ranks to gain access to the tower. I've unlocked the tower and I've deactivated all the security protocols. It should be somewhat smooth sailing from here on, sir." And then Batman ran towards the prisoner processing area where the Tiger Guards just got done executing all the new arrivals. There was nothing that Batman can do. He quietly ran off to near the main entrance of Wonder Tower, but he found it being heavily guarded by Tiger Guards, all manning minigun emplacements. Batman knew he was not going to get past that. He had to find another way in, and he remembered the base of Wonder Tower had an elevator entrance. Batman had found a manhole cover and entered through there. He was in the sewer, and he made his way until he made it to the foundation of Wonder Tower. And there were heavily armed Tiger Guards there. But Batman took them down silently, one by one, until they were all out. Then he made his way to the elevator to Wonder Tower and used the cryptographic sequencer to hack the codes and got on the elevator and rode the elevator up. As the elevator was going up, Batman couldn't help but admire the beautiful Art Nouveau style of Wonder Tower. Then the elevator stopped at the mid-level observation deck, and Batman could see through his detective mode that there were Tiger Guards there. They were not armed, but they were waiting for Batman to come out the elevator. So Batman goes up the emergency hatch of the elevator and gets the surprise on the Tiger Guards waiting for him, and he defeats them all. After the fight, Batman knew he had to scale Wonder Tower like a giant monkey bar, and so Batman began the perilous climb up the 1,200-foot Wonder Tower as the cold winter air was whipping his cape violently as he was climbing. There was also a few bright flashes of lightning as Batman was getting higher and higher and closer to the top part of the tower. The top part of the tower was now the nerve center for Hugo Strange. Once before it was part of Arkham City, it was a luxurious cafe where one could sit down and drink overpriced coffee while enjoying the panoramic view of Tri-Corner Island. As Batman was getting close to the top, he had to hide as one of the attack helicopters was looking for him.
Tiger Command, we're at the tower. No sign of Batman.
Finally, Batman made it to the nerve center on the very top of Wonder Tower. Well, as Batman lay hidden, the Tiger Guards were all patrolling, all armed with assault rifles. And Batman quickly took him out silently, not to draw attention, as Hugo Strange was telling them to be on the lookout, that Batman more than likely isn't here already. Unbeknownst to the professor, he was right. And after Batman took out all the guards, he approaches to the very center where Hugo Strange was at, surrounded by rows of computer cabinets, display screens, and other control panels. Hugo Strange looks at Batman from behind his safety glass and presses the button to open the door, letting Batman in, and he says to Batman, "You have not won. You cannot win. I, Hugo Strange, am your successor. I have saved Gotham." Batman walks up to Hugo Strange face to face, and the two stared at each other very briefly. Then Batman proceeds to headbutt Hugo Strange, taking him by surprise, and then violently kicks Hugo Strange across his little control room area. Then Batman walks up to one of the computer cabinets and presses a big button on it, and then he says on his communicator,
Oracle, shut this place down.
and Oracle says over the communicator, "My pleasure." And then Hugo Strange says from the ground, "You ruined everything." And Batman walks over to Hugo Strange, grabs him by his lab coat, and picks him back up. And then Batman proceeded to violently slam Hugo Strange against one of the computer cabinets, and sparks flew. And then Hugo Strange says to Batman, "Get your hands off of me." And then Batman grabs Hugo Strange again by his lab coat, and then drags him over to one of the giant windows overlooking the super prison, which was now going up in smokes. And Batman slammed Strange against the glass, and he says to Hugo Strange,
Look what you have done.
and Hugo Strange answers Batman, "It is glorious, isn't it?" Then Batman shoves Hugo Strange to the ground. After he did that, Batman heard a beeping coming from one of the computer cabinets. It was the computer saying that Protocol 10 was deactivated. Batman had walked up to the cabinet to see its display screen display that Protocol 10 was deactivated, and he says to Hugo Strange,
You're finished, Strange.
and then Hugo Strange says to Batman, "I have powerful friends, Batman. This is just the beginning. You cannot stop me. Soon I will command forces beyond your comprehension." And then Hugo Strange keeps on talking, saying, "I have achieved what the great Batman could never do. Gotham will forever thank Hugo." And then suddenly a sword ran right through Hugo Strange as he was about to say his last name. Strange! Soon, Hugo Strange's lab coat turned red from his blood, and the one who stabbed him pulled the sword out from his back. As Hugo Strange fell to the floor, it revealed who was the one that stabbed him. It was none other than Ra's al Ghul, and Ra's al Ghul walks up to Hugo Strange and says to him, "Your part in this is over, Professor Strange." And the dying Professor Strange says to Ra's al Ghul, "Why? I did everything you wanted." And then Ra's al Ghul says to the dying Professor Strange, "Indeed, you clearly demonstrated that Batman is better than you." Batman runs over to Hugo Strange, and Ra's al Ghul says to Batman, "Let him die, detective." And then Batman says to Ra's al Ghul,
He was your puppet, Roz. Why?
and the dying Hugo Strange says to Ra's al Ghul, "You said I could replace you. This was our vision." And Ra's al Ghul says to the dying Hugo Strange, "And you failed to see it through." And he goes on to explain to the dying Hugo Strange, "When you came to me with Batman's identity, I gave you this chance to prove your worth, providing you with limitless resources for your plan. You came close, but you have failed me." And then Batman says, cradling the head of the dying Hugo Strange,
He's going to die, Roz. He needs medical attention now.
and Ra's al Ghul says to Batman, "Do as you wish, detective. He's already dead to me." Then the dying Professor Strange says, struggling to breathe, to Ra's al Ghul, I was so close. Give me more time." And then Ra's al Ghul says to him, "Too late. I don't give second chances." And Ra's al Ghul then says to Batman, "This is a good day, detective." And Batman says angrily to Ra's al Ghul,
Good? People are dying.
and then Ra's al Ghul replies back to Batman, "This world will not miss them. Why should you? Look at my work. You may have defeated Strange." Ra's walks over to the giant window to watch the burning Arkham City and says to Batman, "This is just the beginning. Come with me. We will wipe this world clean." And Batman answers Ra's back,
Never. You're wrong, Roz. You've become what you always fought against, and I will stop you.
Then Ra's al Ghul lets out a wicked laughter and he says to Batman, "I doubt it." And then with his last ounce of strength, Hugo Strange says, "Computer, activate Protocol 11." Ra's al Ghul turns around from the window and screams at Strange, "What are you doing?" And then Strange says the passcode. Passcode? Wayne. The computer beeps with acknowledgement, and then Batman sees on the display screen a countdown timer, and he hears Oracle over the communicator in his cowl saying, "Batman, get out now!" Batman quickly uncradles the head of the now dead Hugo Strange, and he runs over to Ra's al Ghul, and he quickly tackles Ra's al Ghul, and the two of them crash through the giant window as an explosion destroys the command center of Hugo Strange. And now Batman and Ra's al Ghul were falling 1,200 feet. Batman quickly was catching up to Ra's al Ghul as he was going to save him, but then Ra's al Ghul took his sword and tried to kill Batman by running the sword right through him to get to Batman behind him, but Batman quickly broke away. And now Ra's al Ghul just falls to his death. He was now impaled by the giant letter A in the Arkham City sign by the main entrance. Batman glides to safety, and he looked, and Ra's al Ghul was dead again. Well, as Batman made his way down to the lower levels, everything was in flaming ruins. There were many dead inmates on the streets. Who knew how many died in this attack? But Batman didn't care. He only had one thing and one thing in his mind right now, and it was Talia. But before Batman could contact Oracle, Joker appears on the giant Jumbotron by the front entrance of Arkham City, and he says to Batman,
"Hello? Is anyone there?"
Joker was walking around Talia, who was on her knees and her hands tied behind her back, and he says to Batman as he was waving a gun by her,
"Hello, Batman. I know you can hear me. I've not caught you at a bad time, have I? I was worried that you may have forgotten about little old me."
And he continues on to threaten Batman.
"Take a look at your girlfriend, who, as you can see, is in danger of having her pretty little brain splattered all over this camera."
And then Talia says, "Ignore him, beloved. Let him die." And then Joker responds by saying,
"Oh, how romantic. Only problem is, I never felt better, and we both know you really can't ignore me. Can you?"
And then the Joker tells Batman to meet him at the Royal Theater, that he was going to be waiting there inside. And then the image on the Jumbotron cuts out, and Batman then makes his way to the Royal Theater. It was quiet, too quiet on the outside. Batman did notice on the marquee it said Joker the Immortal, and as Batman approached the entrance, there was one of Joker's men in the ticket booth, and he says to Batman, "Greetings, Mr. Batman. Here's your ticket. Enjoy the show." Batman opens the door to the theater and goes inside the ruined theater, and there Batman sees on the screen the still projection of a old horror movie called The Terror that starred Matt Hagen, who later became Clayface. And there by the screen was Joker and Talia, and Joker had a gun to Talia's head and her scimitar. And the Joker says to Batman to take a seat. And then he demanded the cure from Batman, and Batman plainly pointed out that he already had the cure. But then the Joker was caught off guard as Talia quickly pulled a move on him and knocked the gun out of his hand, and then she quickly grabbed the arm that was holding the gun, twisted it behind the Joker's back, and then she reached over by the belt where Joker had her scimitar at, pulled it out, and then ran it through Joker. Of course, Batman yelled no to Talia, but it was too late. Joker now fell down dead. And then she walks over to Batman and she says, "Problem solved, beloved." And then she shows Batman the test tube of the antidote. And she says to him, "Harley Quinn stole it for him, and I got it back for you, beloved." And then Batman looks at the lifeless body of the Joker on the ground with the sword sticking out of his back. Batman has fought the Joker way too long, And he felt this was not over, that Joker was up to something. Batman kneels down beside the Joker's lifeless body on the ground, and then he began working his mind, thinking, and then it dawned on him. When the Joker tricked him that he was dead in the steel mill, and then when he remembered when he looked inside the safe that the cure was in and it was stolen, there was the Joker card and a Xerox copy of this Joker card, and then it dawned on Batman. There were two Jokers, and the second Joker was none other than Clayface, who was in this facility. And then Batman heard Joker's voice coming from the balcony above saying,
You fell for the old fake Joker gag.
followed by a gunshot. The bullet hit Talia in the back, and Batman quickly gets up and cradles the dying Talia as the cure falls from her hand and onto the ground, and she says to Batman, Beloved, I love you. And Batman looks up to the balcony where he sees the real Joker, who was still badly scarred, laughing maniacally at him, accompanied by a very sickly cough. Then he demanded that Batman give him the cure. Suddenly, the fake Joker, who is Clayface, starts moving. He puts his hand on the test tube full of the cure, and then he begins to change into his true form, his monstrous clay form. As he gets up, he was 9 foot tall, and he let out a monstrous roar. And then he began to go after Batman, and he says to Batman, This was the role of a lifetime. Clayface turns into a giant clay ball with spikes and rolls high speed towards Batman. Batman quickly moves out the way as he crashes against the wall, and then he morphs back into his humanoid form, and then turns both of his hands into giant axe blades. Then Clayface proceeds to whip him out towards Batman. Batman moves out the way. He knew there was only one way to stop Clayface. He only had 3 of them, though. The freeze grenades that Mr. Freeze built. And then, as Clayface came after him by leaping high in the air and turning both of his hands into giant sledgehammers, Batman moved out the way as Clayface landed hard on the ground, almost breaking the floor and slamming his sledgehammer hands onto the floor of the theater. Batman then grabbed one of the freeze grenades and chucks it at Clayface as he was rising again. The freeze grenade hits Clayface and begins to freeze him. He was frozen, and then Batman runs and climbs on top of the back of the frozen Clayface, and he grabs Talia's scimitar and pulls it out of his back, and then Batman drives it into the head of Clayface. Clayface managed to saw himself out, and Batman quickly jumped down, and Clayface lets out a monstrous scream of pain. Then he begins to go after Batman again. He begins to spin at high speed, flinging clay all around the theater, but Batman managed to dodge them. And then he went after Clayface. He grabbed the second grenade and then chucked it at Clayface. The second grenade hit Clayface, and then Clayface began to freeze again. He was trying to fight it, but he couldn't. And then Batman ran, climbed on top of him again, grabbed the sword, pulling it out of his head, and began to cut Clayface into pieces. While the Joker was screaming to Batman, what was he doing? And then the Joker says to Batman,
You're making me late for my spa treatment. I mean, it's not like you got a girl to save anymore, is it? Oh, I'm sorry, too soon.
And then the Joker says to Batman,
Will a change of scenery ease the pain?
Then the Joker pulls out of his pocket a detonator and he presses a button, revealing to Batman that there was explosives on the floor, and soon there was a huge explosion and the entire floor of the theater collapsed to the level below. It was a huge drop, and where Batman landed, he recognized the place. It was a Lazarus pit where he met Ra's al Ghul and Talia earlier in the evening. And suddenly, Batman sees a giant galoop of muddy clay hit the ground, and it began raining the pieces of Clayface. Those pieces, when they hit the ground, quickly formed into little mudmen and ran after Batman. Batman grabbed the scimitar and began to slice him up into pieces as Clayface was trying to reconstitute himself, with his head and upper parts rising up from the pool of muddied clay. As he was struggling, Batman quickly grabbed the last of the ice grenades and flung it at Clayface. Clayface, once again, was struggling not to freeze up, and he was succeeding, but it was damaging his cellular structure, and Batman sees the opportunity to quickly dive into Clayface's torso with the sword, and he successfully grabs the cure from inside Clayface and then cut his way out. Finally, Clayface froze. Batman was tired. He too was dying, and he quickly popped open the top and drank the antidote with one big gulp. And then Batman hears the Joker saying to him,
"Get out of my way, Bat. I got a date with immortality."
Batman looks up and sees the Joker was standing on top of an old giant power transformer. Then Batman grabbed the scimitar and flung it at Joker. The Joker moved out the way, and the scimitar hits a control panel. It was the control panel to release the giant transformer, and the transformer begins to fall along with the Joker, but it did not hit the ground. The cables that were attached to it prevented it from hitting the ground, and now it was upside down like a giant wrecking ball, and it hit the frozen Clayface, knocking him into the Lazarus pit, and the electrode on top makes contact with the Lazarus pit. Then there was a spark and a big explosion. The explosion knocked Batman back, and he lost consciousness. When he regained consciousness, he didn't know how long he was out for. He gets up slowly, and after he gets on his feet, suddenly the Joker shoots him in the chest. Luckily, it was an area where the armor was at its thickest, but the impact sent Batman flying back onto the ground, laying on his back, and the Joker walks up to him, pointing the gun, saying to Batman,
"Don't think I'm going to die and not have my best friend come with me."
Then the Joker pulls the trigger, but there was a click. No more bullets. Then the Batman quickly used his legs and kicked the Joker back. And then Batman quickly gets up and goes after Joker. And then he grabs Joker by the collar of his suit and lifts him up. And he says to the Joker,
For 21 years, you caused nothing but death and destruction. For 21 years, you caused nothing but misery and sorrow. And for 21 years, you only brought sadness. It ends here, Joker. And tonight, you go to hell.
Then the Batman just flings Joker onto the ground. The Joker was too weak to get up. And he says to Batman,
"So, this is how it ends. Not with a bang, not with a whimper. I just lay here, slowly succumbing to the Titan poisoning. Oh, man, this is not funny."
The Joker breathed his last. He was dead. After a 21-year battle with this madman, Batman was victorious. So Batman walks over to the lifeless body of the Joker and picks it up. And he walks out of the movie theater as Joker's men were cheering him on. But as Joker's men see Batman emerge with the lifeless Joker in his arms, the cheering suddenly was silenced. And there in the crowd was Harley Quinn, and she looks on with horror as she sees her beloved Mr. J dead. And then Batman walks over to the main gates of Arkham City, and the door opens wide to the outside world, where there was Commissioner Gordon with a strike team ready to go into the prison. And as he sees, along with the rest of the police and SWAT team, that the Batman emerged with the lifeless body of Joker in his arms, Batman walks over to the nearest squad car and tosses Joker's lifeless body onto the hood. And then he turns around and says to the commissioner,
Bruce Wayne is safe. He's at the shantytown with the rest of the political prisoners. And as for Hugo Strange, he's dead. And as for this clown here, he's also dead.
Then Batman turns around and walks back into the super prison, and Commissioner Gordon screams at him, Batman, what went on in there? And Batman stops, turns around to the commissioner, and says one word to him,
Hell.
and walks back inside the super prison as the massive doors shut behind him. Inside Arkham City, it began to snow again, and Batman was on a roof that was not damaged by the helicopter bombardment. And suddenly, Catwoman appears, and she says to him, Well, tall, dark, and brooding, thank you for saving us all. And Batman just stood there, looking out at the super prison, where some parts now were just nothing but smoldering ruins. And she goes up to Batman, and she sensed that Batman didn't want to talk, so she didn't force herself on him. But then she says to Batman, Well, Batman, when you're ready to talk, you know where to find me. Then she blows a kiss to Batman, and then runs and jumps off the roof. And Batman just stood there, as his torn cape was flapping in the cold wind. It had stopped snowing again, and Batman can see that the dawn was coming. The sky was starting to turn lighter, and Batman proceeded to pull off the top half of his bat cowl. And the cowl, just like the rest of his suit, was badly damaged from the night of fighting and staying alive. And Bruce wiped away the tears from his eyes. He always tried to be the macho man and be tough, but when it came to losing somebody he cared for, he was no stranger to crying. And losing the one woman he really truly loved, Talia al Ghul, really affected him greater than he realized. As he briefly stopped crying, then he outstretched his arms in the air and lets out a loud primal scream. Afterwards, it was over. Batman was triumphant again, but at a price. And now, a new day was dawning, a new day of pain, darkness, and sadness. Like and subscribe, the end. Then makes his way to the Royal Theater.